Welcome to Chasing the Wind. I'm Pastor Mark. Let's see how the Spirit is moving today. I'm going to talk to you about some things that I just kind of preached on this, along with it's a culmination, but I'm going to be picking apart some things that I've been talking about in my church recently. But I want to read a passage to you. It's a little obscure little passage tucked away in Jeremiah. And it is a message to Baruch, who is Jeremiah's penman, kind of his secretary. It goes like this. This is what Jeremiah 45, by the way. This is what Jeremiah the prophet told Baruch, son of Neriah, in the fourth year, Jehoiakim, son of Josiah, king of Judah, after Baruch had written on a scroll the words Jeremiah was then dictating. This is what the Lord, the God of Israel, says to you, Baruch. You said, woe to me, the Lord has added sorrow to my pain. I am worn out, I am groaning, worn out with groaning, and find no rest. The Lord said, say this to him. This is what the Lord says. I will overthrow what I have built and uproot what I have planted throughout the land. Should you then seek great things for yourself? Seek them not. For I will bring disaster on all people, declares the Lord. But wherever you go, I will let you escape with your life. So let's talk about this for a minute. I want to talk about sorrow. When God adds sorrow to our pain. Lord, I don't want to groan. I don't want sorrow. You get tired. You know, if you are a pastor, or if you're a ministry leader, or you know what, if you're a layman, and just know this, a follower of Christ, I don't know about you, but there's times I just groan. My spirit just seems to be groaning. It's like, Lord, you cry out with the prophet Isaiah, how long, Lord? How long are we going to have to put up with this nonsense? How long are we going to have to see what's going on before you finally come and straighten out this mess that we have created? And then sometimes it's not even the mess that we see in our country, our world. Sometimes it's our own little mess. And sometimes God comes in and he cleans up our mess for us really quickly. And it's really cool. I was talking to someone, my physical therapist the other day, because I was working with him. And I said, you know what? I said, my challenge is, I said, how come I'm not better now, today? And it's all taken care of. And we just laughed because it takes time. And I don't always like that time. I want it done right away. And groaning, as he's working on me and kind of pulling and pushing and everything else and making me do things that I don't want to do. There's some groan, and he asked me that. I said, wow. And he goes, is wow good? Is that a good wow or a bad wow? I said, wow is good, ow is bad. So there's times, though, that our spirits just groan, and we're like, man, Lord, can you do something? And then you ever have those moments when it just seems like God has added sorrow to our pain? And you got to ask yourself, God, what are you doing here? There's probably several reasons for that, but one of it is sometimes he's trying to get our attention. And people will change when it hurts more to stay the same than it does to change. Sometimes we have to get uncomfortable so that we will quit doing some of the things that are unhealthy in our life. And sometimes God allows sorrow to come onto our grief. Sometimes he adds it. He says, okay, you're not quite getting it, are you? You aren't quite getting it. Reminds me of a story my friend told me years ago when his grandfather, a metal bucket had fallen against the electric fence at the farm, and he kept reaching down to grab it, and he kept getting zipped. Instead of learning, just kick the bucket off of there, and then you can grab the bucket. He kept trying to. He was going to defeat that electric fence one way or another. And that's us sometimes. We just keep. I'm not gonna give in. I'm not gonna give in. We're not going to tap out and do things God's way. We're going to just keep going. So then he goes on, though. I'm going to kind of put this into one big thing for us here. It says, woe to me, the Lord has added sorrow to my pain. I am worn out with groaning and find no rest. Then the Lord said to me, he goes, I will overthrow what I have built. And I will uproot what I have planted. And this came to me from a guy I went to college with, a very sharp man, and was reading about it. And as he was writing about this, kind of giving a little commentary, in my opinion, on it, he said he used two phrases that I just love: merciful overthrow and holy uprooting. Now, we understand this is probably about Israel and Judah and all the shenanigans that they were doing and not following the Lord and everything else. And God says, you know what? I'm just done with it. I'm tearing it down and I'm starting fresh. Sometimes, folks, you have to tear things down and start over. They're just not. I was driving over here this morning and I drove by a place I had not driven by in months. Because in an area, just a place I don't drive, it's through downtown and stuff. And I'm like, wow, that looks like a fire happened there or something. I don't think it was fire. I think it's just age. And they took the face off this building and stuff. And I'm like, I think they're tearing that down to put something else up. And sometimes you can't rebuild with what you have. You have to take it down, tear it apart, and start over. There's times when you can't, with plants that they have just, we had a tree come down at the church. A big old oak, probably 100 years old. I might have talked about it recently, but I asked the guy who came, and it split one half, just came down. And I asked the guy, I said, "Can we save the rest of it?" And so he goes, "No, it's got to come down." Sometimes things have to be uprooted, and let's apply that to our lives. We're not Israel or Judah, but certainly our lives can get that way sometimes. When we have grief and it seems God is adding to sorrow to our grief, and it just seems things are getting worse before they get better. And sometimes God has to do a merciful overthrow in some areas in our lives. What are those areas for you? What are those areas where they're just not working and God says, this has served its time. It's time to do something different now. There's some areas that God's showing me. I asked him, I don't ask you to do anything I wouldn't do myself. And I've asked God, is there some areas? And he's like, yeah, you want to know what they are? No, not really. I just was curious. No, he's showing me. And then there's some holy uprooting that he's doing in my life too. He says, Mark, these are not serving you anymore. We do that in the church though, don't we? We just keep programs and things going because we've always done it that way. And we like it, so we just keep doing it because we like it, but it's not really effective. It's not doing what it needs to be. It's not serving its purpose. And you know what? Those are times when God comes in, and if we really are honest, and ask him, he'll show us. So is that working for you anymore? Sometimes it's just a matter of sitting down with a piece of paper and saying, okay, what's working in my life? What's not working in my life? But here's what I know. People will change, and I said this once, and I'm saying it again. People will change when it hurts more to stay the same than it does to change. Many of us don't want to change, but it's like, well, what I'm doing isn't working, so maybe I should try something different. Maybe I should kick the bucket off the electric fence instead of trying to grab it. So I'm going to just let you ponder that for a little bit there, wind chasers. And if you're brave and you're experiencing a little bit of sorrow added onto your grief, maybe ask God, is there something you want to uproot in my life? Is there some holy uprooting? Is there some merciful overthrow that you want to do in my life? Because God will rescue us, especially from ourselves. There's a wonderful scene in the movie The Count of Monte Cristo when the Count saved a guy. And this guy kind of becomes his Baruch, so to speak. He kind of is his little private secretary and bodyguard and everything else. There's one scene when he's meeting with the Count, and he says, I promise to protect you even if it's from yourself. Sometimes we need God to protect us from ourselves. And that is for God to show us those things that are not healthy, that are hurting us more than they're helping us. So I am going to leave it right there, wind chasers, and let you kind of sit with it and ask the Lord to meet you in that and say, is there anything, Lord, that needs to go, that needs to be uprooted, that needs to be overthrown, that you're experiencing a little sorrow on top of your grief, and you're groaning and you're tired, and you say, you know what, I just need to go to the Lord and let me get some rest. So I'm going to leave it right there, wind chasers. Keep chasing the wind because the wind is chasing you. Till next time, I'm Pastor Mark. Grace and peace.